Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by the Hard Truth Distilling Company in Brown County, Indiana.
So for the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world. Time! 3 on the way. Oh! It went in! It went in! And Indiana wins the ball game! Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni! Float game for the win! Ayler's gone! Goodbye, touchdown, Indy! Woo! IU! America! They got a football team now!
Pretty simple. I win. Google me.
You know that I'm the cream of the crop.
Now, from the Hard Truth Studios, here's Jim Coyle.
Hey, welcome aboard. It is Tuesday, and we're rolling along in this week as we head towards the football season, but really heading towards everything as the Indiana basketball team off to Puerto Rico, to San Juan, to play 3 games. They will play 3 times down there, and we'll get a look at what they got. Welcome aboard, no matter where or how you're listening. We appreciate you. 99.7 ESPN The Ref, always the right call in Evansville or up in the region. On the voice of the region, 1230 AM, 104.7 FM, WJOB, and on Fort Wayne Sports Station, 1380 The Fan. Leave it locked right where you have it. It's in the right place all day for the best sports coverage as you travel around. And if you are following us on YouTube or social media, so YouTube, whatever, please hit the like button and the subscribe if you haven't. And speaking of subscriptions, I've been telling you should really support those guys at thehoosier.com that are kicking butt and taking names with the best coverage, breaking stories on IU basketball. And now with a subscription that you can check out for just $1 and get 50% off for, you get a subscription to The Athletic along with that. And I already had a subscription to The Athletic, and it is a great complimentary piece, let me tell you. On the national side, looking for it is, you want to talk about a fantastic deal, there you go. That will keep you covered in all things sports across the board, especially college basketball, college football. March Madness, we've talked a lot about the potential of expansion, and I'll talk more about that as Mike DeCourcy will join us here today, as he normally does, and Coach Griffith will join later. We'll talk football, get caught up on fall camp as things are in week 2 on that side of things. I mentioned Indiana off to Puerto Rico. We will get 3 opportunities to see them play, and I'm looking forward to that because it's going to answer a few questions. It'll answer, more importantly, I don't really have any questions offensively on this Indiana team after just having watched them in that opportunity we had to watch the open practice last week. Offensively, they're going to be fine. They're going to be dangerous. They're going to be, miserable to guard. It's going to be one of those things where, that's going to be an advantage, I think, going in and game out, people having to chase them. Now, if it's a great defensive team, then there we go. David, I don't know where Crisney, Indiana is. That's a new one on me, but appreciate you as always for being with us. Normal group jumping in on the chat line. 5 Lefts, amongst others. Dave G, see you on there as well. Fred, always jumping on, and many others, and you can do so too. That's if you're listening on radio, you can't do that, or if driving, we don't want you distracted from what you're doing. But if you're home, you can simulcast off the radio and comment there on YouTube if you so desire. I mentioned that the NCAA will not be expanding March Madness in 2026. And we'll talk more about that with Mike DeCourcy because he is a proponent of not expanding, as am I. But the men's and women's NCAA basketball tournaments will not be expanded beyond 68 teams this season, but future growth remains on the radar. NCAA Senior Vice President of Basketball Dave Gavitt announced on Monday, expanding the tournament fields is no longer being contemplated for this season. However, the committees will continue conversations on whether to recommend expanding to 72 or 76 teams in advance of the 2027 championships. The idea of expanding the tournament had picked up steam in the spring. From where? They keep saying this. Picking up steam from where? Who is pushing this? I'm still yet to see who, because I keep hearing no from people like myself, from Mike, but who is pushing it? Who is just overwhelmingly has the overwhelming desire to have this? I'm not seeing that. NCAA President Charlie Baker said last month that the biggest challenge for the tournament expansion, particularly one that would take place in less than 8 months, is logistics. And it is, because they already have the Tuesday play-in games that follows the conference, many of the conference championships, which occur on that Sunday. Many, like the Big Ten, they end at 6 o'clock, close to that, 5 o'clock on a Sunday. And you're going to turn around and do what? Have teams play on Monday now? Get out of here with that, man. It's not necessary. Were you not paying attention last year? They had to squeeze in teams that didn't deserve to be in. So there you go. Brian excited about Indiana basketball, 15 hours and 11 minutes before they hit the hardwood. Well, there you go. The countdown is on for them as they get ready to do it in Puerto Rico, as I mentioned earlier. So, but we'll talk more about the tournament expansion with Mike, as I said. Damian Lillard returning to college, this time as GM of Weber State, where he once starred. I believe that's out in Utah, right? I used to, my neighbor, a former neighbor of mine who was then an assistant coach for the women's team at Louisville when they were, when they went to their first Final Four. Can't think of that star player of theirs right now. I can't believe I'm drawing a blank on that. But, well, yeah, I can. My mind is just scattered. But the Portland Trailblazers guard made the announcement Saturday night in Ogden, Utah, where he hosted the Weber State Basketball Alumni Classic. It's something that my relationship with Coach Eric Duft and this program means a lot to me, and seeing the success of the program means a lot, Lillard said at the event. I feel like I can do a lot to help the program be successful, to help the players even individually continue to grow past their careers, something I'm passionate about. So there you go. There's another growth there. But and Stanford also making more news. You know, they have let's see, you've got Andrew Luck as, I guess, the football GM, and he has hired as the interim Frank Reich as the football coach. And now Stanford has hired John Donahoe as their AD. He is the ex-Nike CEO. So Stanford has hired the former Nike CEO John Donahoe as its new AD, marking a shift from a more traditional hire to one with extensive business experience rather than just a typical sports administration background. My North Star, quote, my North Star for 40 years has been servant leadership, and it is a tremendous honor to be able to come back to serve a university I love and to lead Stanford athletics through a pivotal, tumultuous time in collegiate sports, Donahue said in a statement. Stanford has enormous strengths and enormous potential in a changing environment, including being the model for achieving both academic and athletic experience at the highest level. So Stanford really making some different hires, bringing in Andrew Luck as their football GM. Basically, he's the AD of football, and that's a fact. Now you've got an AD that is the former CEO at Nike. So you can see that they're trying to get out in front. Stanford, they're the brain school, but they're still trying to get out in front of all of this. We'll see how that goes for them, but doesn't seem to be a bad idea. There's no question about that. I think that we've seen lots of this type of movement going on and with some schools, how they view things. And I think that that's something that's going to continue to move in that direction. But, I have to say that for Indiana right now, their AD is doing a pretty damn good job. Scott he's hired, as of right now, I think from a coaching perspective, Indiana has never been in a better position that it is at this moment. Now, I'm not saying that, they don't have Bob Knight as a coach or a Bob Knight type at coach. I'm not saying that, and I'm not saying that that Coach DeVries is not a great coach. It's not what I'm saying. I'm saying Bob Knight won 3 national championships, so we cannot put that on somebody, until they start getting close to that. But anyway, I think IU basketball is in great hands, is my point. After being around them, they're in great hands. I think they're going to do fine. Their staff, great. Recruiting is going to be good. I think that the basketball program is going to head in the right direction. This is, a good feeling from the start. Can't say I had that the last time for certain. And it quickly went south, as did it previously before that. But I think they're in good hands. Football, obviously, they're in great hands. I think that this season is going to be better than last season. And you look at women's basketball, you don't have to say anything more. Terry Morin has done an exceptional job already, and there's no reason to think that won't continue. Baseball, Jeff Mercer has done a really good job with that program, and they continue to achieve there. It's hard for teams north of the Mason-Dixon line to do a lot on the national stage, but Indiana has done something more than most. Of course, soccer, forget about it. Todd Yeagley just continuing the great legacy. Swimming, women's soccer has risen, and I don't want to slight any of the other sports, but of those sports, Indiana is in good shape across the board there from a coaching standpoint. So, Scott did not hire all of them, but he is managing all of that. He's made the major hires in basketball and football now. So, to me, Indiana is as in good a shape from a coaching standpoint that they have ever been in that category. But this is a different era, and so we'll see how things work out. Doesn't mean that everyone's going to be successful, but I'm still amazed that Indiana soccer has just been able to continue to be Indiana soccer. They have been less effective, but let's take a quick break. Lots more coming up. The man with the knowledge. You know him, you love him. We can't live without him. Mike DeCourcy from the Sporting News, Big Ten, and Fox Networks will join us next, right after we take this first break from Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle. We're back with more right after these messages.
Andy Moore Honda is Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer for a reason. Buy a new Honda and get a 3-month break from car payments. That's right, no payments for 90 days. That includes the all-new, all-electric Honda Prologue and you get it for just 0.9% financing. Or the 2024 Honda Ridgeline Black Edition or the Honda Accord LX, both for just 1.9% financing. Get more to your door from AndyMooreHonda.com, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer and your best place for new and used vehicles. If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemooreSells@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth Sour Mash Bourbons, Sweet Mash, and Hard Road Ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular toasted coconut rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive. Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Tuesday. Glad to have you along, and that means a visit from our good friend Mike DeCourcy from the Sporting News, Fox, and Big Ten Networks. How are you today, sir?
I am well, Jim. Good morning. How are you?
Good day. Good day to you. I am just peachy. There's no reason to complain. The weather has been unbelievably fantastic. I assume you have been getting some of this breath of fall, just something. It's been amazing. I don't even know what to call it, but just a cool breeze.
It has been wonderful. Absolutely. Here in Western PA, we've gotten a break from that 90-degree constant blast, and
the heat dome, baby, the heat dome.
I
swear,
great.
It was like they could have made a movie over the last week. Welcome to the heat dome.
Yes.
I mean, I know it's probably just bad memories, but I can't remember for that long of a stretch just being relentless. It just wouldn't let up. And usually you get like a storm that for a day. We didn't get that. I'm like, oh man, but it's come and gone. And I guarantee you, I'll tell you who loves it the most, or the pro and college, even high school football players.
Oh, yes.
That are out in practice doing two-a-days, because let me tell you, that's one thing I do remember. Two-a-days in August were just why don't you just take a Louisville Slugger and beat me in the gut with it, man. It was that bad at times because of that heat. But wow, what a great reprise for them this week.
You know who hates it, Jim, is coaches. Because I remember well in my days covering high school football, how much the coaches would complain when they expected the 90-degree August heat and they get this, and they hated it because they wanted their guys to sweat.
Can't get them into the shape you want to get them into.
Yeah, I guess I don't know if coaches now are the same, because kids, athletes, they are. Being in shape is a more constant thing now. Training is so much more sophisticated than it was 30, 40 years ago. The athletes are ready and going all the time. And so it really isn't as important that it be hot and that they sweat. It's more important that they learn their assignments so that when they go out and play real games, they're ready to go.
Does the Sporting News still have the college football magazine? Jason's asking.
We do not publish yearbooks any longer. No, when we left the American City business journals in the early 2010s, they retained the brand and kept publishing the Sporting News yearbook for, I think, until 2015 or so, 2015, 2016. and then got out of that. And so we do not any longer have any print publications that bear our name, but we still are thriving online at sportingnews.com. And that's just the way of the world now. There are still some out there. Lindy's Athlon, Phil Steele still has his great publication.
Phil Steele is the one that everybody is still known for. And I'm sure, is Phil still with us?
Yeah, I believe so.
I didn't know, because they wouldn't change the name, I wouldn't think. But
yeah.
I mean, that's a well-known publication as well. So he is that, and was that in Blue Ribbon?
Yeah, Blue Ribbon is the basketball equivalent of Phil Steele, I guess. And Blue Ribbon's been around for a very long time. I was involved with that for a while, and my friend Chris Dortch is the owner now. Lives in Chattanooga. Used to work for the Chattanooga newspaper and has been running Blue Ribbon for quite a while now, and does a great job. It's still the standard in college hoops yearbooks.
But it's got to be so difficult now, even for those, because of the constant change in everything, in rosters, in lineups, and how do you predict a lot of times what's going to happen because of all of the change? It is not obviously the games are not what they used to be from the standpoint of being able to predict and know and have that ready knowledge because of so much change. So that has to make it extraordinarily difficult.
I think it does for all those who prognosticate. It makes it much more difficult, and that includes.
I've done prognosticating for most things. Yeah. I'm telling you.
The television networks have to do that too, because they want to have the most attractive games that they can possibly have. So they have to assess that, and it's not easy to figure out. Okay, so like Michigan right now is we're going to shift to basketball because it's the sport I know, but Michigan right now is getting a lot of preseason love.
I think that they're going to be number one of the Big Ten. I think that.
Well, there you go. See, I personally have some concern about the point guard position because I watched their projected point guard play for North Carolina, and North Carolina was not great with him running the show. And so, yeah, I love the guys that they brought in. That they brought in some terrific players. Landenborg, I think his name is, from UAB, is an outstanding talent. Really wonderful player. I really like him. They
brought in a former freshman at Illinois who I loved, something Johnson. I forget his first name, but he was tough as a freshman, power forward kind of guy.
Yeah, Morez
Johnson. Yes.
Yeah, he played with the U19 world champions. Now they won the World Cup. The American U19 team, and he was a starter for that group. Adai Mara coming over from UCLA adds a component that's really hard to deal with because he's 7'4", 7'5", an incredible shot blocker. But I watched Elliot Cadeau, and I don't have a big problem with him. But I didn't love his play in a couple of years at Carolina. And so there are those who think it's fine. It's going to be just fine, and they're going to be great, just like you said. And then there's me who's like, I don't know, maybe. I like what they have. I like some of it. I don't like as much others. So it is a hard thing to do to be right about this, because almost every team involves a significant amount of projection. The only one that doesn't involve much is annually on an annual basis, Purdue. Because Purdue has the same core of guys back year after year after year. When Braden Smith is in year 27 at Purdue, then at that point, when he finally retires from basketball as a Purdue Boilermaker, probably, then things will change.
Maybe. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, this is the last ride of the James gang for Purdue. I mean, this is it. They have had. And few teams, well, there's no team in college basketball of note that has three guys
that have been together for 4 years.
Yeah.
That is a core of their team that will be starting, that has started, that will start. I mean, there's nothing like it. This is the last ride of the James gang. Now, what will things be like for Purdue going forward after this? I'm very curious to see how if Matt Painter, how much he has to adjust, because I'm sure he's going to have to adjust some, but he may resist as much as possible. He's been doing fine with the way he's doing things. He has been the most consistent coach in the Big Ten. He has his teams have been the most consistent in the Big Ten for a long time. He's been able to weather this storm, and it's pretty amazing. I've got to be honest with you that they have been able to do that, but they also, I'm not sure they're set up this year to go into to be a Final Four team. But we'll see.
It's interesting you say that. This goes back again to what we talked about in terms of the variety of opinion, because there are a lot of people, and I don't think I would do this, but a lot of people are projecting them number one. I mean, a lot, like John Rothstein. I think Gary Parrish has them at number one. I'm not positive of that, but I know John has had them at number one for a very long time. And so there are a lot of people that are projecting them to win the national championship. My position on that is simply that, and this I guess could change over time as we watch the season develop. I think Omer Meyer is how he says it. I apologize.
Oh man, that's a tongue twister.
You got to get used to it. Omer Meyer. It's spelled Omer and that's how he pronounces it. He may be the pro that they need to go. But I was asked today a question about I made a statement related to a tweet from the Field of 68 guys that they put out yesterday about their 12 contenders for the national championship. And I looked at that and I'm like, I don't remember ever there being 12 legitimate contenders for a national championship. And so somebody asked me about that. Well, why would you say that? And I'm just like, historically, that's not been the case. And then they pointed out, Jim, the number of times someone from outside the first dozen teams has won the championship. Connecticut in 14, Kansas in 1988, et cetera. And I'm like, yeah, but here's the thing. The teams, not all the teams in the first 12 could win it. They were great college teams, but they weren't likely to win it. I look at Florida in 2014 was the number one overall seed. I would have bet everything if I did this. If I bet, I would have bet everything that Florida wasn't going to win it that year. They didn't have the level of talent that inevitably wins the national championship. I talk about this a lot because it just never changes. In 1987, Indiana University, the Hoosiers won the national championship with Steve Alford as their superstar. And that was the last time we had a team win the NCAA championship without a first-round NBA draft pick in their rotation. 1987 to now. That was the first Final Four I ever attended. That's how long it was ago. 1987. And now, and every single year this comes up. And I look at Purdue and I love their team and I know they're going to be great and they're going to win 30 some games and I think they have a great shot to make the Final Four. But do they have the degree of talent, the guys, the NBA guys that always in the end make a difference, and not always the difference, but a difference in the games that they need to win. You look at Florida last year and the number of times that individual players who were NBA first round draft round, Thomas Houck makes a huge shot against Texas Tech to help pull out a win at the end. Walter Clayton, time after time after time in the NCAA tournament, made huge shots. Saved them against UConn. I was in the building. He saved them. Saved them in the Elite Eight with an incredible finish. And even to the end of the NCAA championship game, it's Walter Clayton that does the closeout and blocks the last shot attempt from Houston He was never known as a defensive player, but he's an NBA athlete, and he gets out there and he blocks the shot. That's the difference in those circumstances. And I love Purdue's team, but I don't know if they have that particular guy or guys. And so that's part of what you have to take into account when you start to talk about national championship contenders. If you're going to say that Purdue is a national championship contender, or your number one team or whatever, I'm listening. Who's their NBA guy? Who's their first round pick or picks? You tell me, and I'm listening. And if you can make a case that they're going to take Braden Smith, that they think he's that level of player, and not just a guy like TJ McConnell, who's a fantastic NBA player, but did he even get drafted? I don't think TJ did. I think he's built this incredible career as an undrafted free agent. I suspect Braden will be drafted because he's such a proficient college player, and they've seen the model for some of the guys. Payne with the Knicks, TJ, guys that size who can be proficient NBA players. I don't think that he's going to get past 60 times, but will he get past 30 times? As of now, I would say probably yes.
Yeah, I even when they had the Jolly Green Giant, I didn't think that they had enough to win a national championship, even though they made it to the title game. Because when I was doing research, at least the previous 6 years or so, teams had multiple picks off of those teams. Yeah. And I was like, wow. And they weren't always an NBA pick that season. It could have been the following season, but there was multiple. Yes. They always had one plus another guy. And from what I've seen, when Purdue gets into that situation, it's usually the guard play that shuts them down, or slows them down enough to where it's not enough. And I think that that's going to be the case again. While Braden Smith is a great college player, we've seen lots of guys that are great in college, but they just don't have it for that next level at the NBA, I should say. The NBA level, that's a big jump. There's other levels out there that he will definitely play in.
Jim, he's going to play in the league. I don't have any doubt. He's going to play in the league, and he's going to have a role. He's going to have a role, and maybe a role on a good team. That's obviously the luck of the draw, so to speak. But I'm telling you, he's going to
cutting down when other teams always at the highest level has someone that can shut him down. How is it that he's going to get to the NBA level where they all are great and they're all quick and they're all fast? How is he going to succeed there?
Well, I mean, I think that the answer is the same as with Cameron Payne at the Knicks, with TJ. The answer is he's going to make his living on offense first, because he's a phenomenal passer. You don't get the number of assists he gets without being a phenomenal passer, without having incredible vision. They all are great athletes at the NBA level, but I mean, they're not all great defenders. I mean, if Tyrese Halliburton was a great defender, yeah, I mean, you understand what I'm saying?
No, they're not all great defenders, but they all have someone that they, if you've got a guy that is their shooter, they're going to put their defender on the shooter.
But he's not going to make his living as a shooter. He's going to make his living as a creator and follow that up with being also a very good shooter. The difference between him and TJ, for instance, is that TJ is not a great shooter. I mean, he's working at trying to become a better one, and he was a dangerous one during the NBA Finals run. He made a lot of threes, a lot of big threes, but he's not a great shooter. Braden is a pretty proficient three-point shooter. I don't have any doubt he's going to play in the NBA. Like I said, it's just a question of when he gets drafted and where he gets drafted and what role he fills. But
who drafts him? It's always the roles that someone needs and all of that. So we've seen that before. We saw that with Trey Jackson Davis, one that I'll be honest with you. I've always been honest. Early on, I didn't think that he was going to make it in the NBA beforehand because he was kind of a one-trick pony, but he has carved out a niche for himself, and without question, and he's grown in that. So, hey, always open to being wrong because it happens plenty
Trust me. Hey, I've got to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about tournament expansion. There will not be any in 2026, but it's coming. I guarantee you. They're not going to let it die. Yeah, well, I hope not.
Let's talk about it, because Matt Norlander, my buddy from CBS, made some really interesting points today that I hadn't considered. And he also had some good reporting in there relative to what the expansion level will be. So we have a lot to talk about when we come back.
Well, boy, Mike might be switching sides on me. We'll be back.
Oh, no.
More Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after this break. Know a team or group needing a fundraiser? Boost Fundraising raises more money faster and offers the most unique and user-friendly online fundraiser in the nation. Your team receives personalized fundraising pages for each team member. Free team-branded promo gifts shipped to each donor. Boost Fundraising does it all. Sports teams, marching bands, charity causes, and community groups. Go to boostfundraising.com and be sure to enter the promo code COYLE, that's COYLE, to receive a discounted fundraiser. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth Sour Mash Bourbons, Sweet Mash, and Hard Road Ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular Toasted Coconut Rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive. Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle on this Tuesday. And as always, joined by the great Mike DeCourcy from the Sporting News, Fox, and the Big Ten Networks. How about Fox taking 1/3 ownership of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway and IndyCar? You may have to become an Indy guy, man.
If they've seen me behind the wheel of a car, they're not going to. My wife, we're on the Pennsylvania Turnpike the other day. My wife says, "Go faster! You're going too slow." So I don't think I'm racing.
That's not usually what you hear from a wife. It's usually, "Slow down! You're driving me crazy."
Yes, I am my father's son when it comes to driving slow.
I will not. I am the opposite. I promise you. I would love to do the NASCAR experience. I'm not so sure about the IndyCar one. That's, boy, a lot less margin for error there. But the NASCAR, I would love to take that thing around one of those high bank tracks.
I will tell you a story about that before we get to this. In 2000, I think it was, my last year at the Cincinnati Enquirer, my last assignment at the Cincinnati Enquirer was the opening of the Kentucky Motor Speedway.
Oh, wow, which was a fiasco.
Well, the track itself was, very well designed and all that. And so I go, when this is just a PR opening, this is like, I met Sarah Fisher there, stuff like that. And so part of it was to take us out in a pace type car for some laps around the track. And so I'm there and I get placed in the back seat of the car next to a young woman from one of the TV stations, attractive woman. She's sitting right next to me. And I'm like, well, that's not a bad arrangement. What the heck? And so then they start driving the car. And I'm sitting there and I am scared to death, Jim. And I'm like, I don't want this woman to see how petrified I am, because it would be embarrassing to be such a, to be so absent of testosterone that I am literally white as a ghost. So yeah, you can have that racing stuff. It's not, I enjoy watching Indy. I like the IndyCar circuit. I liked covering it during my years covering it in the late 80s. Got to know Chip Ganassi then. He's tearing it up now with the IndyCar circuit. But no, man, going fast is not for me.
Oh yeah, I see. I thought that story was going to go. She reaches over with her nails, scared to death, and was
No,
digging
it was
into
me.
you. But
It was me.
oh man, was it the banks? What was it?
The banks,
banking?
the speed, the whole thing. It's just I am really wimpy.
How did they tell you how fast they got up to?
It was
not faster than like
it was around. I
isn't
think
it?
we were going around 150 or so.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah,
Oh
that's too
yeah,
fast for
I
me.
would love it. Oh man, but I would only want to do it if there were other cars out there. I want someone to gauge it by, baby. I want to get up there and little rubbing, little racing. But yeah, you ADHD, you live on the edge. You just got to have that adrenaline rush, I guess. Expansion not coming to the NCAA tournament in 2026. Mainly because there's probably no way they could have gotten the logistics done to make this happen when you have conferences like the Big Ten, I think the SEC, many others that end on Sunday of Selection Sunday, and that you already have play-in games beginning on Tuesday, which I guess you would just have to have more. It would be an all-day thing on that Tuesday,
right.
Which, boy, people are just standing in line buying tickets for those games, aren't they?
Yes.
Well, they'll be taking off work.
It's interesting, Jim, because there were a few things in the article that Matt Norlander wrote. I was off yesterday, so I didn't write anything. But Matt wrote a terrific article at CBS Sports where he talked about a few things. One is he reported that 72 is not really an option. If they do it, if they go all this trouble, they're going to go to 76. So that's the first thing. And then there's the idea that if they do it for men, they're going to do it for the women as well. They're not going to do it. One's not going to be one and one the other. And so what they're talking about, Jim, and this is something that was interesting, is that because you're going to 76, if you do it, you can't just do a second first four. You have to do a third. So you have to have 3 sites. And what this is going to end up doing, Jim, this is going to cost them money. It's not going to make anybody more money. It's going to cost them money.
Cost them money that they can't recover because nobody's watching.
Right. And this is why the TV networks don't want it. The TV networks.
Who is? Earlier before you joined us, that's what I kept asking. I said, who is begging for this? I've not seen anybody begging for this other than the head of the NCAA or maybe smaller schools, I guess.
Charlie Baker doesn't want this either. Charlie Baker wants to do whatever keeps the NCAA operational, which means pleasing the conferences. That's what I can't say that for certain, but I know he doesn't care one way or the other. He's a politician who knows where the votes are. That's basically, in so many words, that's what this is about. He's a politician who knows where the votes are, and the votes are at the highest level with expansion. However, I think there are a few things that, first of all, the money isn't there. The TV networks have no interest in doing this. They are already paying $1.1 billion for the NCAA tournament. Now, there are those in that business, in the media business, who say that if all of a sudden that contract were to burn up in a fire or something, and you put this back on the market, that it would be worth more than that. But CBS and Turner are happy to be paying $1.1 billion. And it's not like, hey, I bought a car a month ago, and I really like it. This is the best car I ever bought. So I'm going to go back to the dealer, and I'm going to give him $10,000 more because I love the car so much. That's not how life works. You say, I got a heck of a deal. I paid my money for the car. The car's a great car. And everybody's happy because the car dealer wanted X number of thousands of dollars for it, let's say 30 grand, and they got their 30 grand. And I got my car, and to me, it might be worth more than 30 grand. And everybody's happy. Well, right now, the NCAA tournament is a fantastic product, and Turner and CBS are paying $1.1 billion for it. And they're happy to be paying $1.1 billion for it because they get good ratings, they get all the ads. They can expand halftime and the timeouts a little bit so they can recoup the 1.1 and maybe make a profit or whatever. And they can advertise tracker on the games X number of times or some other program from the Turner collection I remember they were I can't remember now which one they kept hitting during the tournament this last year, but they had a couple that they kept showing us. So that's what it's for. But there's nobody out there that's going to cover this 1.1 billion, this extra money on top of the 1.1 billion to pay for the extra teams that would have to be involved. We're talking about 8 more teams, 8 more shares that would have to be invested into this, in addition to all the costs that you have to have in order to run 2 more sites, which involves a lot of money, and they probably don't recoup that from tickets. People, there have been people in the West who've complained. Why does it have to be in Dayton every year? Why is the first 4 always in Dayton? Why can't we have it out here somewhere? Okay, show me a place that's going to sell 13,000 tickets every year for the first 4. The only place in America that would and does do it is Dayton. And they have a special relationship with the sport of college basketball, and they've delivered on that now 15 consecutive years. They show up, they buy the tickets. And I don't know whether that covers all the costs, but at least it covers a chunk. But if you have another first 4 site and you stick it wherever and they don't sell the tickets, then they're just going to lose that much more money. So that Rachel Bachman of Wall Street Journal does a terrific job, wrote about 2 weeks ago that they're so desperate. The people who are trying to advocate for this are so desperate to try to get this done that they have now come up with the idea of doing an end around on the prohibition that exists within the NCAA structure on alcohol ads. And they're trying to do an end run around that to say, well, if you expand the tournament, then we can find a way to get alcohol sponsorship, beer sponsorship into the tournament, and that'll pay for it. That's how ridiculous this thing is, Jim. Nobody wants it. Nobody wants to pay for it. And yet the people who keep pushing for it keep having to come up with new and nefarious ways to try to justify it.
Well, it could be compared to a lot of things where a minority organization or whatever is just yelling when it's not, when what they're yelling about is not, it's not really, you don't really have a case. But so who is pushing for this? Who are the people? There has to be more than a group. Is there more, or is it just one group that's making a bunch of noise?
It's one group, and they are conference commissioners, basically.
But what conference commissioners? These smaller conferences?
In some cases, smaller. In some cases, the person who started this was Greg Sankey. Around 2021, 2022, Greg Sankey started agitating for an expansion of the NCAA tournament.
Of course it was.
Now, I will say it's significantly, he said at their football media days, was asked about this, and thank goodness for reporters, Jim, because somebody did asked about the expansion, and he kind of backtracked a little bit.
That's what I thought.
Which is, you know, I understood the initial concern, and my position for all of them was, can we just do a couple of these with the expanded conferences and see how it works out before we start panicking and burning down a great event? And my position was, see if you get the fair number of bids with the expansion. And what happens? First time out of the blocks, the 16-team SEC gets 14 bids. So there were no bids denied them because of their size. They got every bid they earned. And some would argue maybe one more than they didn't. I wouldn't, because I did the projections and I believe they deserved 14. But they got 14 out of 16 because they won games. They beat up on the ACC.
They were just good. They just had an incredible year, and I think they all deserve to be in. It's so funny though, when things work your way, boy, you'll scream, and now all of a sudden, well, maybe we don't need to. Maybe we didn't deserve to have more teams in until now. So, well,
that's why I thought that it should be something where you wait till there's a problem before you try to solve it. And if we had gotten into this and the volume of any one particular league caused it to lose bids, then okay, I didn't think it would. Based on the work that I do for Fox, doing the projections, I didn't think it would be a problem because I'd watched the 14-team Big Ten get 9 bids, 8 bids, 9 bids. One year, in the year we didn't have a tournament in 2020, they would likely have gotten 10. And in following it, my first year working for Fox, and obviously doing the work I do for the Big Ten, trying to stay on top of that, we had 12 teams in the Big Ten that were competitive for bids until the final week of the season. And then a final 2 weeks, maybe tops. And they were in the hunt. And then they lost a couple of games and started to drift off the bubble a little bit. But it was out of 14, they were likely to get 10. So I never thought this would be a problem. But the commissioners have to worry about it a little bit more than I do because it matters financially to their membership. But what it comes down to is you have to have good basketball teams that win games. The ACC's problem is not the size of the field. The ACC's problem is that they haven't played great basketball for half a decade. Half a decade. That's fair. 2019, they were fantastic. They had 3 number 1 seeds. 2021, it starts to drift off. And then by 2023, 24, 25, they're just not very good anymore. They're not playing good basketball.
Conference is falling off because they're not good in football either. And they've had teams added like Miami that just didn't pick it up. So as a conference, they have really dropped off.
But they have tried to blame it on every external factor, Jim. Public relations, the size of the field, this, that, the other thing, except we didn't hire enough good coaches, and the coaches we did hire aren't executing at a high enough level. Really that simple. They have not played good enough basketball in the ACC to warrant more bids. You expand the field, and I don't think that changes the math that much. I know the commissioner of the Atlantic 10, Bernadette McGlade, has argued for a larger field, and she's wrong because, again, it's another league that overexpanded, Jim. Their competition isn't as good as it once was, and you have a lot of teams in there that are accustomed to getting into the NCAA tournament that don't get in there now because their product fell off a little bit, and because they kept expanding to add teams that are good quality basketball teams. Loyola being the most obvious example, but Loyola was better off in the Valley because they had the strongest program in the Valley, and so it was going to be a more of a better competition for them to get into the field. Now they have to compete with a lot of teams like them to get into the field, and they get squeezed out. So it's not a league that has taken good action over the years, and they're trying to make up for their mistakes by damaging the NCAA tournament. And again, the thing that's most preposterous about all this, Jim, every time I talk about this, people on Twitter say, well, it's all about the money. It's not about the money because there's not more money in it. They probably will lose money. Overall, they'll probably lose money if they expand. And that's why none of the people at the core of the event, the television broadcasters, the people who run it at the NCAA, none of them is in favor of this. They can't come out and say that, especially at the NCAA. But I will tell you, they are not in favor of this because they know the product better than anybody, better than I do, having studied it and covered it for 40 years. They know it 10 times better than I do. And I'm telling you, if you put them all under truth serum, they'd say never.
Is the women's tournament a money-losing prospect overall?
I don't know that it's a money loser. No, I don't think it is. But I don't think that that expansion would serve the women's tournament well at all. They don't need a bigger field. They don't. There's no one, again, within the game that's advocating for a bigger field. They just got to 68 not that long ago. And then to take it to 76, if you look at the first round games, the games between the upper seeds and the lower seeds, they haven't reached the level of competition on average that the men's tournament has. So the longer you have your 68 team field, the more it will become homogenized, the more that the margin will shrink, as it has happened over time in the men's field. It took 40 years for us to get a 16 beating a 1 seed, Jim. So the women's tournament has only had the size of field that it has for a short period of time. It's going to take a little time for those games to become as competitive as you want them to be. And I think if you expand now, that it expands the amount of time for those games to become as competitive as they should be. I don't think it would be good for women's basketball any more than for men's.
No, I think it would water it down, both of them actually. But yeah, what's up next for you, brother?
That's a great question. I'm basically
that seems to be the answer that everybody has right now. I'm like, you lucky guys. You lucky guys. But no, you work so hard.
It's not that lucky because you have to look for things. It's not like you're being deluged like in February.
Trust me, I know. Summers are they're still busy, but that doesn't always equate to content. But it is always great content at the Sporting News from Mike DeCourcy and others as the nation's oldest sports publication. Appreciate you, my friend, as always.
Thanks, Jim.
I love the conversation. Always informative, and everybody loves it as well. Appreciate you, sir.
Appreciate you.
Absolutely. Mike DeCourcy joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. More coming up on the other side. We'll talk more expansion maybe, but we'll talk some football as well. Coach Griff will come along and join us, and as are you, hopefully sticking around. We're back with more from Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after these messages. If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemore@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth's sour mash bourbons, sweet mash, and hard road ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular toasted coconut rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive. When it comes to apparel and promotions, Freethink has you covered, literally, whether it's 24 or 200 shirts for sports leagues, businesses, or groups. Freethink Apparel and Promotions can also create your very own merchandising store. Freethink Apparel and Promotions did it for Indiana Sports Beat Radio, and they can do it for you. Whether it's screen printing, embroidery, digital printing, promotional products, vehicle wraps, or anything else under the promotional line. See what Freethink Apparel and Promotions can do for you at freethinkapparel.com. Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Tuesday. Glad to have you along. Coach Griff joining us now. We've been talking about NCAA tournament basketball expansion. Of course, we have had or in the throes of potential football expansion as well, as that will. And there's a difference there because there's an argument to be made for expansion of football, not too far, but there's an argument to be had because there's some room there. Basketball is saturated enough. Again, last year you had they were shoehorning teams into the tournament, and so it's just ridiculous. But it's the minority, I think, that is causing a big stir, and in our country it seems like too many times minorities just make enough noise and they just, all right, let's grease that wheel, it's making too much noise.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I don't know if with college football, I know that there's a big push to get it to 16 teams. How that looks as it pertains to the breakdown and automatic qualifiers and whether you have play-in games and that, I don't think it's going to happen next year, because I think they had to have some type of an agreement by the start of this season, which I'm not sure the Big Ten and SEC will come together on a formula for that. But the ideal push will be to go to 16. That's what the football FCS level does. They have a 16-team tournament, and they've done it for quite a few years. So the data is there to support it on how to do it and, run it as it pertains to these type of tournaments in football. And I don't think it would be a big leap to get there. It's just a matter of how many AQs the conference will get, what are the at-large, scenarios and things of that nature. And, I think they've got to decide too, is like we've talked before, are we going to have equality across the scheduling world where you're playing 9 conference games as a barometer of measurement within a conference? And as Franklin said from Penn State, he believes that everybody should be in a conference, which means he thinks Notre Dame should have to be in a conference and play a logistical schedule in one of the big conferences across the country. You don't hear many people talking about that dynamic, that Notre Dame as a independent schedule at times throughout history has not been very good on the strength of schedule when you look at it throughout the season, when you have 2 of the academy schools in there that they're playing every year because of a traditional alignment type of thing. So as far as college basketball goes, I don't think they need an expansion of that tournament because of what they've already got. I mean, as you said, they were shoehorning it in last year, trying to get the number of teams in there. It comes down to money. It comes down to enriching the conferences, because the more you have in, the more you get. And I guess we're going to have to say, in this day and age, in order for schools to survive, they're going to have to find ways to gain revenue to support the rev share, as well as all other matters that go into the running of the athletic departments, with scholarships and such. So that's the topic of discussion more than anything, is how do the schools that are not maybe well off, how do they survive in an era where they're paying college athletes?
Yeah, and that's still something that is always changing. I was looking at an article earlier. When will something flip and all of a sudden the athletes really gain more power in this? Because if that happens, well, that could be an issue. So there's just so much, because everything is not governed. Recently, I think this came out yesterday that the commission that now with rev share that's set, your school has this much money. They're going to use it's their decision to use how they use it. And you know what? If football wanted to give every dollar of it to one player, they can. Of course, that's not going to happen, but they can do what they want. But NIL is still in there, and the way of guarding that from this College Sports Commission was that all these NIL deals over X amount of dollars are supposed to go through them, like a clearinghouse. And of course, there's complaints about that already, but they've already loosened its prohibition on athletes receiving payments from them. So it's because you can't
you can't prevent commerce. You can't stop them from making money. So when they said that originally, I'm like, that's crap. They're not going to be able to stop that. So the bigger programs that have the large NIL collectives are still going to be hugely impactful on either sport, in either sport. It doesn't even matter. So there's that for you.
Yeah. No, I think the College Sports Commission, with that threatened lawsuit, again, realized that, look, this is not worth dying on that hill about. And
no, they don't want to lose a court case.
Yeah. And it creates other problems in the equation for it all. But, look, it's going to be bumpy here for the few years when it comes to this new world we're living in college athletics, because of, this addition of paying student athletes, a monthly check. I mean, I was reading an article yesterday that these kids that have theoretically committed to schools could legally be paid their rev share already, even though they're seniors in high schools. And a lot of schools are not doing that. They're holding the money.
I see. That's ridiculous.
Yeah,
because unless you have a contract,
right.
Unless you're allowed, and I don't understand why. Okay, if you're able to do this, why is this not a contract? I mean, why are you not able to sign a contract? And I'm really about multi-year contracts. I think that these should become, now maybe the schools don't want that either. They're like, well, maybe I don't want to be tied into this guy in case I want to not have him. I don't know. But when I talked about the sports commission, the new rule says athletes and collectives will have to show that each deal they sign requires the athlete to promote a product or service that is being sold to make a profit, rather than just being a vehicle to channel money from boosters to athletes. Collectives might need to show documentation of the entity's effort to profit from the deal, according to the memo. Meaning, somebody can't just give them money. This cannot just be a payment. There has to be a business reason, a proven business reason. A car dealer, easy. That's easy. They do a commercial. They stop by and do a meet and greet. That's easy to prove. Now, or a bank. But there's going to be several others where I'm like, you can't just a corporation that how in the hell, like a drug company, how the hell is a drug company going to profit off of Joe Blow? But I'm just trying to come up with examples where that might be the case. But if it's a legit company, that's pretty easy to get around. And all these schools, they have big time donors that own companies that are businesses. So there's nothing to say that they can't funnel it through them.
Right. Yeah. It's like you said, these are legitimate businesses that they're utilizing student athletes for, whether they're a alum of the institution or not. I mean, they've got a legitimate reason for that contract to exist. So it's, like I said, it's going to be a bumpy road for the next few years on both sides of the equation as it comes to whether they expand the college playoffs on top of this new dynamic of, the money exchanging of hands. You're correct in aspects of saying, what type of contracts are going to be provided to each and every student athlete. Is it a 1 year? Is it a 2 year? How does that look? I mean, when you look at athletic scholarships, theoretically, they're on a year-to-year basis. There's never a guarantee of 4 years on an athletic, when you had the athletic scholarships in play in previous years, it was always a year-to-year deal, so to speak. So, I mean, that may be the same case that you're talking about. Maybe it's a 1 year type of deal, or If you got a kid that's really good and you want to try to wrap him up for more than 1 year, then fine. But how is that enforced? And do you get into the situation with the Wisconsin-Miami legal battle that's going on right now with the young man that left Wisconsin, essentially took all the money and went to Miami, and Wisconsin had no recourse. So that's why that's in the court system right now, which will be a big part of moving forward on the aspect of contracts and how those are enforced and so forth.
There should be no way in the world that you're able to take NIL money or now was this NIL money or rev share?
Well, this would have been under the old equation prior to the rev share aspect.
Regardless, there still should be recourse like any business.
Oh,
now,
yeah,
but,
absolutely.
But was there an agreement?
Yeah.
That's the thing. Even a verbal agreement is a verbal agreement. We're giving you this to do that. And obviously his accepting of that role should be proof of that.
Yeah, well, no question.
So not only would I sue for the money back, I would sue for damages.
Yeah.
Someone needs to establish a precedence.
And
there has to be a precedence established.
And that's what Wisconsin is theoretically trying to accomplish with this lawsuit, because I think they also named Miami in it for a tampering clause.
Well, if they tampered and they have proof of that, then that's another great thing, because how many times do we hear coaches, even Indiana's Kurt Signetti, talk about tampering, but they don't name the guilty parties. But it's time that, hey, name them, hit them hard. If you're tampering, there's enough problems right now without schools adding to the problems.
Right. And again, that's some of the things that we're going to have to ride out the storm, so to speak, to get under what are the parameters in all this. I do think at some point in time, you're going to have a players union of some sort representing all the college athletes in the discussion of rev share and things of that matter as they go along, because they're going to have some type of collective bargaining entity that is representation of all the college athletes, especially in the major sports of football and, college basketball. So these are the things that will come on to the scene as things, move forward, but it's not going to be a smooth ride here with everything for a few years. Now, I don't know if that's going to cause a bunch of, issues and problems as it goes through, but I think everybody's just going to have to sit back and see what all happens and, let it play out in that regard, and try not to let that become the story over the fact of what's happening on the field. And that's the whole, that will be the whole thing with that. But yeah, we're just in for an interesting time in college athletics as we move forward here. And we've talked about this before. There are going to be schools that are going to drop sports. I just don't see there's any other way that some of these schools are going to be able to survive that dynamic now that they're paying student athletes, and the non-revenue sports find a way to survive this aspect of college athletics now.
Yeah. And then you're going to have some people to say, does that really matter? A couple of sports that are absolutely, what does that gain for certain schools if schools are, forced to drop the same amount? But then you're going to have schools, the schools that don't have football.
Yeah.
Are they at an advantage in basketball because they're allowed to get that same $20.2 million, whatever. And oh my, if they can spend 70% of that on men's basketball, hello, that's a game changer.
Yeah, no question. And that's a dynamic too that everyone's trying to understand, is that if you do not have a Division I program in football, and like a team like Butler per se, are they going to be forced to elevate their football program to the level of a scholarship-involved team? Because right now they've always operated under a non-scholarship program, although they labeled themselves as a Division I AA type of program. In football, it's just non-scholarship, kind of like the Ivy League. So the question, like you said there, is, does Butler have a distinctive advantage because they get 70% of that money because they don't have a football program? And does that create an unbalanced or unequal playing field when it comes to that? So that's another avenue to keep an eye on, because those schools may be required to elevate their football programs to a true Division I type of program where, they're paying scholarships and things of that nature. So it's going to be interesting to see how that's all handled.
Daniel listened to the Hoosier Tailgate for the first time last Thursday. It was awesome. He said it was an awesome show and informative. Thanks, Coach Griff, of course. You can always find that at thehoosier.com, which, as a matter of fact, go make sure you're supporting those guys at thehoosier.com, because they are killing it. They are putting out more content than any place you can find in regards to IU athletics. And that includes the breaking stories on IU basketball players, commitments, etc. No one has broken more stories this year than thehoosier.com on 3. And it only costs $1 to check it out. Then you get 50% off for the entire first year and a free subscription to The Athletic. And let me tell you, that is a perfect combination, because that gives you all the coverage on IU basketball, football, etc., and from a national standpoint, both ways on national sports as well. So, man, that's a hell of a deal. Trust me. I assure you, it's an incredible deal. So make sure you go do that right now. Just go to thehoosier.com. But yes, and you can always catch the Hoosier Tailgate at thehoosier.com. As in addition to every new player that comes along, Coach Griff has a breakdown, a video breakdown of those players on thehoosier.com. And those are, you want to talk about informative, that goes into great detail about what they will be bringing to the Hoosier football team. And man, we've got to take a break. Speaking of which, we'll talk about that more on the backside when we come back to the Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle and Coach Griff right after these messages.
The ISC Sports Network is your home for sports content across the Hoosier State. Find us live on TV and streaming, or archived on our website and our app. The ISC is your one-stop shop for the content you want to see, including high school sports, college sports, and other great events throughout the year. Subscribe to our streaming service and get access to it all. ISC. Local lives here.
Know a team or group needing a fundraiser? Boost Fundraising raises more money faster and offers the most unique and user-friendly online fundraiser in the nation. Your team receives personalized fundraising pages for each team member. Free team-branded promo gifts shipped to each donor. Boost Fundraising does it all. Sports teams, marching bands, charity causes, and community groups. Go to boostfundraising.com and be sure to enter the promo code COYLE, that's COYLE, to receive a discounted fundraiser. If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemore@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today. When it comes to apparel and promotions, FreeThink has you covered, literally, whether it's 24 or 200 shirts for sports leagues, businesses, or groups. FreeThink Apparel and Promotions can also create your very own merchandising store. FreeThink Apparel and Promotions did it for Indiana Sports Beat Radio, and they can do it for you. Whether it's screen printing, embroidery, digital printing, promotional products, vehicle wraps, or anything else under the promotional line. See what FreeThink Apparel and Promotions can do for you at freethinkapparel.com. Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle on this Tuesday. Happy to have you along, no matter where how you're listening. Grateful for you, the coach Griff, with us as well. And speaking of the Athletic, they have a piece out right now for college football sleepers, 11 unranked dark horse teams to watch. There were 4 teams that were unranked to start the season last year and made it to the CFP. Indiana, one of those teams, of course. They were joined by Arizona State and SMU, in addition to Boise State. Now, this year, 2 of those teams, Nebraska, they're not on Indiana's schedule. One of those teams predicted, but part of that, I think, is because Matt Rule is just under, he's under pressure. He's got to do something.
Yeah.
He's got a sophomore quarterback who went through the freshman bumps and bruises and should be much better this year. But the team of note, Louisville is on that list as well. But one that is on Indiana's schedule, and I have talked about this a lot, Iowa. After years of jokes about Iowa's offensive ineptitude, what if that unit is more or less fixed? Transfer quarterback Mark Gronowski led South Dakota State to back-to-back FCS national championships and finished with over 10,000 yards passing, 37 rushing touchdowns during his Jackrabbits tenure. This is going to, I've been saying this over and over, this is going to be a different Iowa team. Now, they're not going to be ranked to start the season, but, man, this is going to be Indiana has a tough stretch. Illinois, Iowa, at Oregon. Or at Iowa, at Oregon. That is a tough stretch. And I don't care who you are. So, again, I wish I could get somebody, I wish I could get that guy on from, did that article a while back. I forgot to reach out to him because what do you have to say about this? What do you got to say about all those years Indiana was in the Big Ten East?
Yeah.
It's just no one ever complains until things don't go their way. But yeah, Iowa, I think they're going to be no joke. This dude, if you think about that style of football, it's always fun to watch. North Dakota State, South Dakota State, always slinging the ball all over the yard. This dude is not only a thrower, but a runner. So this is not your grandpa's Iowa offense. It's not your dad's Iowa offense. It's not even your older brother's Iowa offense. They have not had, they're usually 3 yards in a cloud of dust. That's been Kirk Ferentz forever. And they've got a new offensive coordinator. So this is going to, things are going to change at Iowa, and that's going to be an extraordinarily tough game. Going to Iowa is a tough place to play. Always, they're pretty solid defensively, but boy, you talk about national TV games: Indiana versus Iowa or Illinois, Indiana at Iowa, Indiana at Oregon.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah. And Iowa, the offensive coordinator you speak of is Tim Lester, who was the head coach at Western Michigan for a number of years, played there. When I was coaching, he was a player at Western Michigan as a quarterback, very good quarterback, very good football coach. He will do wonders with the young man coming in, Gronowski, from South Dakota State, in that offense that he will develop around him. And that's the thing that they found a way to get through last year because they still had issues at quarterback via injury more so than anything. Defensively, Phil Parker has been there forever, and he's an old MAC guy. Coached against him when he was at Toledo, and he is a really good defensive football coach, and that's what Iowa's bread and butter has been for the better part of a decade, has been their defense that's kept them in games and allowed the offense, maybe who struggled to score points, to give them a chance to win. So Iowa is a team to keep an eye on this year because, as we know, in college football, it starts out, do you have a quarterback that can do things that can put you in positions to win, whether it's throwing or running it. And he's got the ability to do both and did both. And that's what his forte was at South Dakota State that led him to 2 national championships. So that ball game, and then of course of going to Oregon, and I did this a couple weeks ago. I believe this 3-game stretch, even though it's early in the season, will have a defining footprint on Indiana's rest of the year on what they come out of that 3-game stretch. Now, I personally believe they got a great opportunity to come out at the worst at 2-1, and that includes winning at Iowa in an environment, like you said, is a tough place to go win. So if they can do that, then they're going to be rocking and rolling for the rest of the year with a potential showdown against Penn State. If
they have to go 5-1 in that stretch.
Yeah.
It's there's no, if they don't, then they have to go 6-0 from there out.
Right.
But,
now that doesn't mean that they may not upset somebody either. Remember,
I'm not saying they can't go 6-0 again.
Yeah.
I mean, now last year's 6-0 prediction for me was easy, even though people were laughing. I'm like, they're starting 6-0. That's easy. That's cakewalk. This year, no, not at all. Is it a cakewalk? They could legitimately go 4-2, could go 3-3. I mean, it's not out of the question. That's not what I think. But with that stretch, yeah, they could. And if they did, boy, that would really not set the season up. But I think they beat Illinois. I think they go to Iowa and win, but boy, it's going to be a challenge. It's going to be a different type of challenge. I think Indiana's still the better team, and I'm not saying they can't go to Oregon and win. We don't really know what Oregon's going to be like yet, just because everybody else thinks they're one of the top, 10 teams in the country. Why?
Yeah. Well,
just because they have been.
Yeah, they've got a lot of guys coming back on defense, and they've got great speed. And of course, playing at home for them is a huge benefit. It's one of the, it's another one of those stadiums that can get very, very loud. And Indiana, of course, have learned their lesson about loud stadiums and cadences. So they're not going to change their cadence going into Oregon this year. But yeah, I mean, that's the thing about the Big Ten schedule. It's never, it's an ever evolving, every year about who's going to be this and who's going to be that. And that's what makes it exciting. No 2 years are the same at all. And,
the bad phone ringing.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But this will be a, interesting, challenging in year 2 for Coach Cignetti. They don't have a cakewalk of an opening game either. Old Dominion will be a great test because Old Dominion, I think, is picked 3rd in their conference, but they did they went into South Carolina last year and darn nearly beat South Carolina. They lost 23-19 at South Carolina. So that's not going to be a cakewalk of an opening game either. It'll be a great test and a barometer to see where they're at. Coach Cignetti always talks about this. The margin of winning is very minimal. I mean, it's really small, and he talks about it all the time. And in order to win these type of games, you start now in molding and grinding your way through this preseason to prepare yourself to be in a year where you're back to back to back with these games. And that 3-week stretch is probably as hard a stretch of games than anybody else in the Big Ten this year when you look at the teams that they're playing.
Well, I've wanted to look at the Big Ten schedule to compare it, and who has. I wonder who has the toughest schedule in the Big Ten. Be very interesting to see that. Besides a team that is not a ranked team,
I think it's Wisconsin.
Yeah,
if I'm not mistaken. It may be Wisconsin that has the toughest schedule.
Wisconsin Badgers are currently ranked as having the toughest schedule in the Big Ten for this season. They have road games against Alabama, Michigan, Oregon, and Indiana. So, as well as non-con games against Notre Dame.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, they're for a coach that's already on the hot seat, mercy.
Yeah, that's not a friendly schedule at that point in time.
And as a matter of fact, ranking the Big Ten schedule is the easiest. Let's see. It's Wisconsin has the brutal schedule, of course. UCLA's is harder as they wow. So this is college football news. They think that UCLA has a tougher schedule, who they play at Indiana. They open with Ohio State.
Yeah, I don't.
These are all Big Ten games, I think.
Yeah.
So they open with Penn State, then go to Ohio State, then go to USC, then go to Indiana, then they play Utah, Michigan State, Washington, Nebraska at Northwestern, at UNLV, Maryland, and New Mexico. They've really spread their non-con games out.
Yeah.
Wow.
Probably because.
So I guess their first game of the year is Penn State. So their first 4 games of the season are Big Ten games. And of those first 4, games are Penn State, at Ohio State, at USC, and at Indiana. Holy smokes.
Yeah, they could be beat up by the time they get to Indiana. Yeah.
Purdue is number 3. They're at Notre Dame, Ohio State, at Michigan, at Minnesota, at Washington. 3 back-to-back road games. How do you set that up?
I don't know.
That's not good scheduling.
No.
I mean, you follow that with 3 straight home games, but it's against USC, Indiana, and Illinois.
Yeah, I don't understand why the Big Ten would send them on the road 3 straight weeks, but
yeah, that's harsh.
It's harsh.
Ohio State sitting at number 4. They open November 1st with they play Penn State. Wait a minute. Why does it have November 1st Penn State? Are they ranking these? They're ranking these as the toughest games that they play.
Yeah.
Not by date.
Yeah.
Not by date.
Yeah.
So
that
that's
sounds
why.
like more realistic.
So Ohio State plays Penn State, Texas. They're at Michigan. They're at Illinois, at Wisconsin. That was Minnesota, Purdue, Rutgers. Yeah. So Ohio and Grambling State. So big deal. Iowa, number 5. Penn State, Oregon, at USC, at Nebraska, at Iowa State. And they rank the Indiana game as the 6th toughest game of the year for Iowa. Oregon, Indiana, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, ranked as the 5th toughest game for Oregon, behind at Penn State, at Iowa, at Washington, USC, and Indiana. So we'll see. The Trojans, who Indiana will play next year, I believe.
Oh, yeah.
At Notre Dame, why doesn't Notre Dame join the frickin' Big Ten? How many times have I already said Notre Dame on this run through? And here they are again on USC's schedule. The CFP should just force them into a conference. It's ridiculous that they keep getting this pass. But let's see. Washington, number 8. Rutgers, number 9. Northwestern, number 10. Michigan, 11. Michigan State, 12. Nebraska, 13. Maryland, 14. Minnesota, 15. The Illini, 16. Penn State, 17. And Indiana listed as the easiest schedule.
I think that they're doing this is at Penn State, at Oregon, at Iowa are their three toughest games listed. Then Illinois. Then they really don't have a tough game after that, to be honest with you. But they're going to be tough. They don't look tough on paper, but they're going to be tougher than you think. They go to Maryland. That should not be that bad. How in the world do they list at Purdue as the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 toughest game on that schedule is beyond me.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's a team that's going to finish next to last in the Big Ten, probably.
Yeah. I'm surprised they don't have Wisconsin in there somewhere. I would think Wisconsin would be a game that.
Well, they've got behind Purdue, they have Wisconsin, then Michigan State, then UCLA, then Old Dominion, then Kennesaw State, then Indiana State. Those three I agree with. Purdue is just not going to be that tough, I don't think. Maryland should be way down that list, in my opinion. But what do I know? But I find Indiana's going to get. There's why Indiana's getting grief. If you've got somebody listing them as the easiest schedule in all of the Big Ten, which that's kind of hard to believe, but their strength of schedule score is 603, and it's not even close to not being last. I mean,
and again, strength of schedule at the beginning of the year compared to as it goes along changes so many times. You know, their strength of schedule will be vastly different by the time they get to, you know, that middle 3 games than it is right now. But it's, I do think they play it. There's no question they have a tougher road this year.
Oh, absolutely. Their entire season is going to be determined in the first 6 games of the year.
Correct.
I mean, whether they have a chance or not to make the college football playoffs, that's going to be determined in the first 6 games. They have to go, I think, 5-1 at a minimum for them to have a shot.
Well, overall, they're going to have to finish 10-2 at worst to have college football.
Absolutely.
Chances.
And those 2 losses, if they come, will most likely have to be at Oregon and Penn State.
Penn State.
Now, if they could win, say beat Oregon, boy, that changes the whole whole deal around.
If they have an 11-1 record, then I think they're firmly in the college football playoffs, more than just a discussion. If it's 10-2, I think it's on the bubble because it all depends on what Ohio State does, what Michigan does, and so forth. So again, not wanting to put the cart before the horse, so to speak, but that's the one thing I did a couple weeks ago was talk about that 3-game stretch as being the defining moment of this 2025 season in this 4-part series that I've done with the preview of Indiana's schedule. So we'll finish up Thursday, 7:30 with the final 3 back-end games, and that would include Penn State, Wisconsin, and Purdue. And there's a high probability that they could go into Happy Valley with only 1 loss, and that will definitely become a national TV game and probably a whiteout.
Now, looking at the Sporting News, which is, again, the nation's oldest sports publication, completely different take. They have Indiana 8th after being tied for 12th last year, but they are 8th toughest schedule behind Wisconsin, Rutgers, USC, Ohio State, Purdue, Washington, and Northwestern. They are ahead of Minnesota, ahead of UCLA, Penn State, Iowa, Nebraska, Michigan, Maryland, Oregon, Michigan State, and the Illini, which they list as last in this one, which makes more sense because they show that Indiana is playing at the current number 4 Penn State, at current number 6 Oregon, and versus current number 10 Illinois. So that's a little more accurate than what we just
heard from that other publication, which is not nearly as accepted as the Sporting News. So this is a little bit makes a hell of a lot more sense to me because Indiana already with 3 ranked teams on their schedule, and below them there is not another team on this list that currently has games against 3 ranked teams. I take that back. Iowa does. And ironically, Indiana not listed in there. So I guess the Sporting News does not have Indiana ranked in their preseason top 25. That's a little shocking.
Yeah. I've seen Indiana ranked anywhere from 2021 all the way up to 15, I think, in various polls. Now the coaches poll just came out, and that's featured on On3. And I believe they had Indiana in that one. Was it, I think, 17th or 18th? I can't remember.
And to me, that is at least a good spot to start. Hey, let's take a quick break. Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Jim Coyle with you as always. Coach Griffith. We're talking Big Ten football at the moment. Back with more right after these messages.
Andy Moore Honda is Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer for a reason. Buy a new Honda and get a 3-month break from car payments. That's right, no payments for 90 days. That includes the all-new, all-electric Honda Prologue, and you get it for just 0.9% financing. Or the 2024 Honda Ridgeline Black Edition or the Honda Accord LX, both for just 1.9% financing. Get more to your door from AndyMooreHonda.com, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer and your best place for new and used vehicles. If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemore@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today.
Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth Sour Mash Bourbons, Sweet Mash, and Hard Road Rye, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular Toasted Coconut Rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive. Welcome back. Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Jim Coyle with you as always. Coach Griff also along for the ride. I'm looking through here right now at the Sporting News. Was it top 25 returning quarterbacks? I think ranking college football's top 25 quarterbacks for this year, from Arch Manning to Bryce Underwood, which Bryce Underwood at Michigan, a freshman there. It's going to be very interesting to see how that happens, but rarely do you see freshmen on a list, especially for a team like that. So that's going to be very interesting. Michigan not on Indiana's schedule, but what they do is very, very important to Indiana, of course, as how the CFP goes, because Michigan is already one of those top 4 teams. And, you know, the Big Ten will likely get 4 teams into the CFP. So you've got to be in that top 4. Right. So if you don't play one of those teams, you just need to hope that they kind of get knocked down a peg with that. But they all have the number 25 ranked quarterback. As I go through this, though, you got Miller Moss, the former USC quarterback, now at Louisville. Very interesting. Yeah. Dylan Raiola at number 19 for Nebraska in the Big Ten. Again, just want to see what they end up doing because they're going to try to make noise. Nico Amalevin
is at UCLA. So
That's right.
Indiana will certainly play them. And last year he threw for 2,600 yards, 63%, throwing 19 touchdowns, only 5 interceptions. Followed by our man, Josh Hoover, who originally was committed to Indiana and decided, you know what? This was before. Now, can you imagine had Kurt Signetti gotten a hold of Josh Hoover? This is a kid that got into the system at TCU, stayed in the system, started all of last season, and now he's back after an entire season of being a starter, ranked second in the Big 12 in passing yards, and closed the season with 4 straight wins. He had 6 games with at least 300 passing yards, but the Horned Frogs were only 3-3 in those games. Given the Big 12 has 10 returning starters, Hoover will have to perform well in his second full season as a starter with offensive coordinator Kendall Briles. TCU plays North Carolina, SMU, and Arizona State in September. So that'll be interesting. Carson Beck now at Miami, the former Georgia quarterback. And let's see, Diego Pavia still at Vanderbilt because he was able to sue and get his 46th year of eligibility. There, you've got Julian Sand at Ohio State. How could Sand be in the top 10 without taking a snap as a starter? This is almost a program placement here. So again, he has not done anything yet. It's going to be interesting to see how that goes. Oklahoma, seen a lot of good things about them, and one of those reasons is John Mateer, their quarterback. Number 8, Luke Altmaier from Illinois, the Illini. He's a 3-year starter for the Illini. That's experience. That's going to bode very well for them. This is going to be a hell of a game. Brett Bielema is a great coach.
Yeah,
this should be an old-fashioned
slobber knocker.
You know what? I don't know that that's the truth, though. When you've got Luke Altmaier and Fernando Mendoza, they're going to be slinging that hash around.
It could be a 4-hour game.
Altmaier is a 30-year starter with the Illini after leading a 10-win season last year. He ranks second among returning Big Ten quarterbacks with 22 touchdowns, and that came with just 6 interceptions. Boy, accuracy, we're talking about these guys. He had a 160 passer rating in games decided by 7 points or less. The Illini are one of the trendy preseason CFP picks, of course, if Altmaier continues to improve. But again, that game with Indiana, that's critical for both teams. Whoever loses that game, I don't see going to the CFP.
Well, they're behind the 8 ball to start off, the Big Ten schedule, and that's the hard part. It's that game is going to have a heavy weight on it.
Oh, absolutely. At number 3, Drew Allar from Penn State, another quarterback Indiana's defense will see. Another 3-year starter. He has the opportunity to silence the critics one more time. He led Penn State to the CFP semis and has compiled a 23-6 record as a starter, 53 touchdowns, and just 10 picks. Improved his accuracy last season with offensive coordinator Andy Katekny. Is that right?
Yeah, something Kotonecki or something.
Kotonecki. Of the post-spring top 5 teams, Allar is the only returning starter. So the big game reputation, Allar has 60% completion percentage or less against Ohio State, Oregon in 3 CFP games is the nagging criticism. So there you go. Cade Klubnik from Clemson, number 2. So that bodes well for the Clemson Tigers and Coach Tom Allen on defense there. Yeah. And then number 1 is Arch Manning because, well, it's Arch Manning. Again, he's done. It's amazing to me how many of these quarterbacks are ranked as high and they haven't done jack. Haven't done diddly yet.
Yeah. The biggest one to me is Bryce Underwood. I get the kid is phenomenal. Is a phenomenal athlete, phenomenal opportunity at Michigan. But the problem is he's not played a college football game yet. And lining up on Friday nights and then leaping to Saturdays is a completely different arena, irregardless of how good you are. Because
my biggest joke is Bryce Underwood and the kid from Ohio State and whoever, Dylan Raiola, and whoever we just talked about over Fernando Mendoza.
Yeah, exactly. Because even that.
Are you kidding me? He is returning. He threw for 3,000 yards last year while getting sacked 41 times. So, yeah, I'm
Plus,
a little
he's already
amazed.
projected a high draft choice in the NFL
Some
draft.
project him as the number 1 draft pick, but he's not even in this top 25.
Yeah.
Give me a break.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's it's the stigma of Indiana football that's plagued it for
It
the last
is, because
few
I
years.
look at Nico I'm leaving. He threw for 2,600 yards. I mean, what the hell did he do? That was so. What was the stats for? I'm interested to see what Raiola's stats actually were. Yeah, he threw for 2,800 yards, 67% completion, but only 13 touchdowns against 11 INTs.
Yeah,
that's freshman. Now that's a freshman, so I'm gonna give him a break there. But he threw for a lot of yards, man, and a high completion percentage. But that's a low number of touchdowns, and that's a very high number of picks.
Yeah, he threw too many critical picks last year. One against Indiana, that unfortunately cost them some ball games in the long run. And I just think he's one of those guys that it'll be interesting to see the year he does have this year when it's all said and done.
Jason says he wonders if Indiana will get another college game day. You know what? That's a good question, but I don't think so, because they don't have, we'd have to look at what week 4 or week 5, I guess if it's week 0, I don't know. The September 20th weekend, what the schedule looks like, because that is the only home game Indiana has against an opponent that people are going to begin to look at. And I don't know that a top 10 team versus a top 20 team is going to be enough of a draw, especially when it's Illinois and Indiana. So I'm going to say no. Now that could be a big Fox noon kickoff there. But that sucks, because that makes it a noon kickoff. And I hate noon kickoff. They're great because you get done earlier, but
as I was going to say, noon kickoffs are great.
Yeah. Well, I like them a lot better than this, 7:30 or 8 o'clock kickoffs. That's for damn sure. That's 2 a.m. right there, getting done. But no, I do not see a college game day opportunity for Indiana. Not at home. Now on the road, yeah, that could be. If Indiana is 5-0 when they go to Eugene, Oregon, and Oregon is 5-0, now you're talking, because they like to go out. They've been out to Oregon, even though it's 3 hours behind. That would be an opportunity. Or let's get crazy here. Indiana is 6, 7, 8, 9, 9-0, like they were last season when they go to Happy Valley for the whiteout. And depending upon what Penn State is, that would be an opportunity. But those are the only 2, and both of them would be on the road, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think the only game that has a shot was, I think Illinois and Indiana, just because of the hype that it will carry and the fact that it's week 1 in the Big Ten. Well, week 1 for those guys in terms of the Big Ten conference race, but that game will have a lot of significance on it as early on as it is. But yeah, I don't know how the college game day, how they do their thought process and picking, or, how that's all done. But
well, yeah, there's no opportunities for Indiana at home this year. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah. But yeah, they got to get great chance.
All right. So coming up tomorrow, Coach Griff will be hosting, and I'm going to try to join as I leave for Puerto Rico tomorrow, and I land in Florida, and I have a layover, so I'm hopeful to join the show at that point. And then I will be bringing you the show from Puerto Rico.
That's right.
And Thursday, but you'll see plenty of Coach Griff. He's probably going to be back with us on Thursday in his normal spot as well. But we will be down there and doing the show there. We will be getting the post game comments that you can only find from those of us that are traveling there, because there is no TV, there is no radio. So make sure you're going to thehoosier.com and getting signed up. I'm telling you, that is where the information is going to be. And don't forget, just $1 to check it out, 50% off for the entire first year, and you get a subscription to The Athletic with it. So you got that going for you.
That's right.
Which is nice, man. Appreciate you as always.
Absolutely, partner. See everybody tomorrow.
I appreciate you guys as well. We're back tomorrow to do it again. Until then, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.